track laying on Halton Warren 009. Are you sure? Hi, welcome back to Halton Warren 009. I'm Mark. Yeah, I'm sure. Today we're actually going to start laying some track on the Fiddle yard boards, so that'd be good. That's an exciting move forward. Before I do, I've got to put my hands up to a mistake I made in my previous video, which was video 008 about the infrared detectors and changing the IP point motors from DCC concepts. Now, what I said in that video was that it was a voltage that went from the infrared detectors to the point motors, and that's what made them operate. It's not. Jeff Friedman from Jumble Lane Model Railway got in touch with me, pointed out that I got it wrong, and also explained how it does actually work. So Jeff, thank you very much for that. I now know, and another time I will double check before I put stuff out and publish it. Another bit of a grind for me was the fact that I actually filmed that twice, and the first video I did actually refer to them as outputs and inputs and signals. It was only later that evening I was watching some other YouTube videos and I saw another one on infrared detectors. The bloke on there was saying that it was a voltage that came out. He also had a voltmeter on there trying to show you what voltage it was. I took that as gospel, so I refilmed my video about 8 times because I kept getting it wrong, and then that was the one I put out, the incorrect information one, so apologies for that. Lessons learned: 1, check your facts; 2, double check what other people say; and 3, never take what they say as granted, always check it. So next time I will. So again, thank you Jeff, and we'll move on to today's video. Now today was going to still be building the Helix, but I have started that. As I explained in a previous video, the angles aren't exactly accurate on some of the pieces of wood, and I didn't think it mattered that much until I started putting it together, and they were so far out I was ending up with funny shapes that weren't matching up and they weren't going to work properly. So as soon as I get time, I'm going to go down to B&Q, get some new bits of wood cut out so that they're accurately cut, and hopefully that way the Helix will go back together a bit better. So, in place of doing Helix, I've been down to AGR Model Railways in Leighton Buzzard. I've picked up 2 of the left-handed points I was waiting for. The ones from the other suppliers still haven't come through. They've been very helpful and very good. They've been pushing it, but they just haven't managed to get the stock in. And so I've cancelled the order with them, and I've now got the points, as I say, from AGR. So today we can start with laying track on the Fiddle yard. Now I'm not going to go straight into that because what I want to do is use templates to get the points down. So first of all I'm going to print off some templates from the internet, from Peco's website. So we'll go through that first and then we'll get onto the track laying. So I'll see you in a minute. Right, we're sitting in front of the laptop, we're calling up Peco's webpage. In the top right hand corner we put in the product code from the packaging and click search. That will bring us onto a page that shows all the products under that product code, and of course there's only the one I want. So we click on the product details and that takes us to the next page, which is the details of the products itself. So we scroll down, there's a picture of the points. On the left hand side it says downloads with the code number and plan sheet. So if you click on there, it will then bring up a copy of the plan itself. So we want to print that off. So we go up to the top of the screen, click on the print icon, and then that will bring up the preview. Now as you can see, the preview doesn't fit the page, so we need to go into more settings, down to the bottom where it says scale and custom, and at the moment it says 73%, so we can toggle that up to 100%. Once it's there, we can push the print button and print the plans off. The ruler on the side of the plans, you just want to check against the ruler to make sure it's 100%. Okay, so that's printing off the templates. Just cut them out, stuck them together. I was looking at leaving thumbnail good for YouTube, isn't it, thumbnail? But literally a thumbnail's width between each join of the templates. That was because the insulated rail joiners do have a small, very small web of nylon or whatever it is to make sure that the rails keep apart. But when I looked at it, that was tiny. I think nail distance is probably not even worth considering it. So I've stuck these together. What I've also done, and you probably might or might not be able to see that, I've punched out the holes, and this is where the wires are going to go. So it's all stuck down. I know where the points are going to start, so I'm going to use a bit of Pritt stick. Now I've put little holes where the wires are going to go because I want to actually drill through this, and when you use a drill and you drill through paper, sometimes it just rips the paper off, and I didn't want that, so I thought if I drill it or punch it first, we should be okay. So that's where it joins up. Get that, the line I've drawn between the rails, and the same at that end, smooth it down. That's not lined up properly, it's moved, so I need to bring it across. This might be a bit more fiddling than I realised. I think the glue's probably dried off a bit as well, just having a chat. It's a template, it's to give me a basis of where it's all going to go. Right, so that's that side. As I say, this is only here so I can get the holes in the right place. Centered on that line at both sides. That's it. Hopefully that dried down. What I'm just going to do is double check. Not that it matters too much because there's going to be flexibility in the loop. I'll just see how accurate I say. That's 31.5, and that is 31.5 bang on. That wasn't too bad for the eye. Right. So that's where my points are going to go. Don't need a straight edge for a moment. Finish with the glue, just need the pens. So the idea now is that we line this up with the centre line, and we bring it in line with where the centre of the curves is going to be. Actually, if I put a mark I'm just marking in between the rails on each of the points, and it's the bit that turns out. So line that up with the middle again, with the middle line, bring it forward. That's it. Right, I was going to cut this out, but I'll keep it in. I stuck these round the wrong way. So the train comes in, it can go around and come out again, but these are going that way, and they shouldn't. It should be following this way, because otherwise how did the train get on the loop? So let's just peel those off and do it again. Too much of a hurry. Where's my glue gone? So it doesn't roll around. Right, that's better. So we line that up again with the centre. And we line that one up with the centre, and then we gently flatten it down so hopefully they're all in line. That's it. Right. And this one goes on this side. Again, line it up with the centre between the centre of the rails, and that end up with the centre of the rails. Again, gently smooth it down, and hopefully that'll, that's it, all kept in line. Right, that's better. So the train coming in, round the loop and off again. The next one comes in, round the loop and off again, and the next one, and the next one, and the next one. And not like I just had it where it was trying to have to reversing in every time. Less haste, more speed, I think they say. Right, so what we want to do is join the middle up with the middle up. As I say, this is only as a guide. I am actually going to use those little set track aluminium things you can buy. I'm saying they don't need to be that accurate. I do want them to be fairly accurate. Now I'm quite pleased with the angle these are coming out at. There's certainly enough room for a train on each one. Okay, my battery just died there, so I've changed the battery. Obviously you can now see me again, but what I did was took advantage of just finished doing these other loops. Now I've got the loops on there, I just want to make sure they are actually big enough to train on, otherwise I've done all this work for nothing. So I've popped upstairs, I've got the longest engine I've got, which is this one, which is Tor from the Linton and Barnstable. So if I just, the loop I'm worried about is this one, because these other ones are quite widely spaced apart, but I want to make sure that if it's okay on this one, which it looks like it will be, it'll be alright for the others. So that's the engine. These are the coaches I'm going to be using. Now these are the Peco ones, but I've also got the ones from the kit ones from Dundas. So just make sure they go behind it. And what I've done is I have worked out sidings on the main layout. Siding, everything revolves around this train length, so it's the longest engine with 2 coaches. So a goods train will be a locomotive with the right number of wagons or vans to make up the same length as this. The PW train is going to be slightly shorter anyway, and I've got they're all going to be designed so they're slightly shorter than this. Just as a matter of interest though, I've got another one. So how many can I get on the loop? I've obviously got to give room for the engine, the next train to get round, and these are not coupling up, so there is a bit of wiggle room to play with. So that might be a bit tight with the engine coming on, or the next train coming round. But if I only use that one for small, short trains, that is enough to get an engine round and a train round. So I can actually fit 3 coaches and my longest engine into certainly 3 of the loops, which is absolutely brilliant. Okay, so put all the toys away. Now I know it all fits and all works, we can carry on. If it hadn't have done, it would have needed a total rethink of what I was going to do. So I'll just pop these in the shed so they're nice and safe. Okay, so that's all the holes drilled. When I was doing this, I suddenly realised that the first lot of points I had, I put the frog wire more forward than the second lot I got, so I've actually drilled 2 holes on some of them to just give me that flexibility, make sure I don't have to come back with the drill later. The other thing I've got to do is drill the holes for the point motor to go through. I'm going to do it from here. Now the throw on these 9mm points is only 2mm. So I'm going to drill a hole approximately in the centre, and then I'm going to open it up to 10mm, so that will give plenty of room for the wire from the point motor to move to actually throw these points. I think that's okay because, as I say, it's only a 2mm throw, and there's going to be plenty of room in there, and I'll try and do the holes as accurately as possible. For somebody who likes being spot on most of the time, it's a little bit of a risk, but we'll give it a try. I'm also going to put my point motors on the inner side, just because I've got the batten here. I don't want to find that I'm banged up right against it, so I'm going to do it on this side. So the point actually is thrown on these drawings to the right, so I'm just going to bring it to slightly to the left. As I say, there's only a 2mm throw, so if I do it just on the edge of the hole that's shown here, we should be okay. Okay, so those are those drilled. I've got to widen them up, as I say, to 10mm. I'm just hoping pre-drilling all this is going to work. It's a little bit of a risk. These that you print off from Peco, as long as you remember to set your printer on 100%, do come out accurately, because I've put a point over the top of it and it lays on perfectly. So I can't see why these holes aren't in the right place, and it just stops fiddling that you get one point on there, you drill it out, put that in, get the next one, drill it out, put it in. So now hopefully I can just peel this off, or I might leave them on actually. This is the fiddle yard, and it's not going to worry if they're on or not. So I'm going to pop upstairs, get the points, bring them down, and start laying some points. Very exciting times, actually laying some track on the fiddle yard. So I'll see you in a minute. Right, just before I start on this next section, I've got a couple of I think they're interesting bits here. I've got my project box, okay. This is just a simple box made out of plywood and MDF. It was made for me dad. He used to do a lot of photography, a lot of slide work and stuff, so he built this just for him to put stuff in while he was doing it. Now I use it. My dad died 4 years ago, so I kind of picked this up. It's just something he made, something he used, so it's just nice to have. As I make things, I put them in here and it's ready to be brought down to here. It just keeps them together, keeps them a bit safe. Not that big, but it's very handy. The other thing I've got down here is I've got my two panel pin hammers. That's a standard one you normally find around, but again, this was my dad's. It's very lightweight. He used to make wooden toys as well, so he used this a lot. It was his and he used it. It's now mine and I use it. It's just nice, that connection and that feel, and it's a really lightweight one. It's ideal for putting the pin tacks in, so that's good. The other thing I've got here, a lot of you probably use these anyway. These are little jam jars that you get from hotels. You get the marmalade in it, you get your jams in it. A lot now are going over to putting a little dish there. You've got to scoop the stuff out from, and some have got the little plastic things that you kind of try and peel the tops off and then scoop it out. They're quite good. They're a bit lightweight, but at least you can put bits and pieces in. These are good because you can put bits in, put screw tops on, and they store away nicely. And these three I'm using, I've got my insulated track joiners, my metal track joiners, and my track pins. Right. Okay, so we've got that bit out of the way. When I was drilling these holes bigger to get the to let the point motors wiggle in and out of them, it has damaged the templates, so I think I'm going to get rid of these. Also, I can already feel that some of these are a bit raised, so I've got to do something with those as well. Just checking that I've got all my holes in place. I have, so I'll pull this off. As I saw, it was only down with Pritt stick anyway, so it's easy enough to raise. I did think about laying my track on top of these directly, but I need to get underneath here to sort out what these lumps and bumps are. So I just peel off the odd bits of paper. Right, this is extremely bare bit. Let's just brush the old. This is only wood chips, so going on the floor doesn't matter. It's all going to rot down and go in. Yeah, each one of these is kind of raised, so I had my scalpel here a moment ago. That one's nice and flat. This one's just raised on this side, so I'm just going to... The last thing you need to do is put your points down and find they don't sit flat and they bend and the bits of rail pop out. Yeah, it's just some sawdust and stuff got underneath it. Shows how well it wasn't glued down, really, doesn't it? Okay, you don't want to see me doing this, so I'm just going to clear those out to you and I'll come back to you. Right, that's got that done. It was just little bits of cork and plywood that's just got under and lifted up a bit. Just got these nice thin tweezers, got in there and raked it all out. Anyway, it's done. So, on that side I had a line to start on because that's where the loop started off from, but for here I haven't. So what we're going to have to do is just take the first one. All I'm doing with these is I've stretched out the cables, supposedly so they're easy to put in, but they've all got hooked up, doing that clean out of the little lumps and bumps. Just run my fingers down between the two cables, make sure that they're not tangled up anywhere and there's no knots in them. And that one goes on the inside, that one goes on the outside. Poke them through. Now these have got long wires on it because they've got to go through this board up to the board that's going to be above, that's going to have the DR4088s on. Right, that's gone in there nicely, and it's directly over that hole for the point motor to go. There's plenty of movement on there within the 10mm hole. Didn't put the frog wire down, so it can go down the hole there. And all I'm doing it now is lining it up with the line that runs through. The wires I've soldered on are keeping it more in place. And then, if I can find what I've done with them after saying about these little pots. And yes, I'm nailing mine down. I know people are going over glue, but I'm just a bit more confident with this. Now, this little hammer I was saying it was my dad's. It's lightweight. It's good for putting these tacks in. I know the disadvantage with these tacks in, they bend easily, so probably glue sometimes is the best option, but I do like using the tacks still. Okay, there's one to go in there. Just gently tap it so it doesn't, hopefully it doesn't bend. Famous last words, isn't it? Hopefully it won't bend, and then the next bang it bends. Well recovered. Okay, I'm going to put another one in there. The next point will obviously butt onto this one. These are the insulating joints I do have a problem with, and okay, I've got a slight gripe with these insulated rail joiners. This solid bit of plastic here, the last of the sleepers, the ties or sleepers, whatever you want to call them, they are firm up there and there's just no gap around them. So when you put the rail joiners on them, they butt up to them and they can't go on. This one here, this is slid in and it just goes over the edge of the sleeper, and the insulation, the little web that goes across here is bang hard up against this rail. But there's just not enough room for between that web and the end of this joiner. it's just butted against that. There's no give on here at all, so you can't slide it in there. So basically what you've got to do is cut a little bit off and then try and fiddle to get it in. If I cut it off at an angle, that might help. But the metal ones are just as bad because they can't come onto this sleeper. But there is a little bit of room where you can slide them onto the other ones, so that's not so bad. It's just these, the insulated ones with the web across the actual joiner. You've got to trim them to get them on here. No one have thought it was that difficult for Peco to have worked that out and actually to design this last sleeper slightly differently so that the rail joiner can slide in there. But hey ho, it's just a little bit more fiddly and just a little bit more time consuming. But we'll give it a go. Okay, so to get around that, I've just trimmed these back a bit so that they will, the next point will slide in. Next point is here, same thing. That's the last one actually. So where's the next one? There's the next one. So it's exactly the same process. I'm going to stretch out the wires, make sure they're not tangled, put them through the holes, gently push this in to join it up with the last one. Check that my holes are in the right place for the point motors and then tack it down. If they're not in the right place, all I'll do is widen these up. Save you watching me do this for time and time again. I'll leave you there and I'll come back to you once they're all in place. Right, there's all the points down. Finally finished those. What else do I need to tell you about these? On here I've used insulating rail joiners on both these rails. Normally you only do the frogs, but these loops are each going to be a separate block, so they need to all be insulated. So there's two insulating connectors there and one on there, which is obviously just for the frog, and then your normal metal one on here because this is running through. Same here, two insulated for the to join up with the loop and the new block, insulated to stop the short across here, and then the metal one to carry on as normal. Next point, got the same, two insulated for the next block, insulated here to stop the frog from shorting against the next rail, and then a metal one. This is different on this end. We've got two insulated for the new block that comes off on this loop, but this loop on the end is also going to be a loop as well. So we've got insulated ones there. So each of the loops is going to be isolated, which means I can have each one as a separate block for my block detection and my loco detection. Right, now I've got those in, the next thing is to get the track in. Just seen that, which is another track pin before I catch myself on it and rip my arm. This little hammer has been absolutely wonderful. It's so lightweight, it does prevent you from knocking in some of the pins, track pins at an angle and bending them, so that's brilliant. All I've got to do now, somewhere I've got a centre punch thing, one of those with a dip in it rather than a point, so I can just put that on top and then just firm these down, make sure they're not going to get, they're not proud to catch on the rolling stock as it goes round. Right, I'm going to find me big track for the loops, and I'll come back to you in a second. Right, here we go. Got the points in place, ready to put the track in place. The track I'm using is the Peco Streamlined SL-400 Code 80 narrow gauge Irregular 009 oblique HO9 or HOE sorry track, which is flexi track. They say irregular because it's the sleeper spacing is slightly irregular, and also the sleepers are made to look old. So that's the track I'm using. I've already put the feeder wires on, red and black. To put these in place, I'm going to pin them in place again. I've just got my hand on a track pin that was sticking out there. So yes, I'm using track pins. I'm going to use my dad's old hammer because that's lovely for putting these track pins in. Once they're in, I've now found my centre punch. Now this one, centre punch is you punch little marks on metal or something, put them bang and leaves it. Not this one. This one has got a dimple in it, so I'm not exactly sure if it's still called a centre punch. But the dimple is ideal for sitting over the top of a track pin, and then just tap it a couple of times and it brings it down flush with your sleeper, and that means that when your trains go round it obviously doesn't catch, there's nothing to catch onto. So that's for when we've got all the track down. I'll go round and do the whole lot at the same time. Now I've got a track setter, I've drawn my arches on here at 12-inch diameter, so that's a guideline, but the track setter will make sure I get a nice smooth curve on there, so that's there. The track is actually longer than the arcs. So, it's alright, the dog's just moved, I wonder what he was up to. So yes, sorry, the track is longer than the arcs I've drawn. So I've got to cut them, and I've got just a pair of track cutters. These are the ones that square off nicely so that you can butt the track together, and you don't end up with those little angle bits that you try and butt up together. Using these you can get a nice squared off butt of track together. The only thing is they do sometimes leave a bit of a burr, so I've got a needle file just to take those off. I'm going to need to drill some holes to put the wires down, and so I've got a Sharpie just to mark off that. What else do I need? Holes. I've got my drill ready with a 4.5 inch I think it is millimetre drill bit. That's the only one I could find quickly. So drill my holes to put the wire down. The other thing I need to drill is some guide holes on the track, so that as I'm using track pins, if you just try and tap them straight through the sleepers, the plastic sleepers, they don't. So if you drill just guide holes, pilot holes to start with, it's a lot easier. I think that's it. I've got my track, got my tools, got my pins, know where I'm going to put my track, so it's time to make a move. I have actually drilled one hole, so that's a nice start. My track's got to be a certain way round, so that because I've wired this up already, now I've wired the red wire to the right hand rail and the black wire to the left hand rail. On here, on the points, my red wire goes to the inside of the curve, and the same that side obviously, so that means that the red rail, the right hand rail, has to be the inside of the arc. So as I said, I've already drilled a hole on this one just to save a bit of time, and we're going to put the feeder wires down the hole. If they go on, go down, that's it. So many wires underneath here. Right, just thinking along wires. The wires, the feeder wires on here, certainly the red should have been longer. That's the one that's got to go up to the DR4088. The 4088 is going to be a bull-on shelf about 18 inches above this, so I really needed a bit longer cable to get to it. So that's short. When I wired up the points, I'd had a hell of a day at work. I wasn't feeling in the best of moods. I thought I'd do some model railwaying just to calm me down and get my thoughts together, which I did. But for some reason I was thinking that they had to go up to the shelf with the controls on as well. So I've given them huge lengths of wire, which doesn't matter because they are only going to go to a terminal block on the base of this board. So anything I cut off I can reuse again because they're like 10 foot long, those lengths. So it's not wasted. Anyway, back to what we were doing. As you bend these cables, they obviously, the inside rail and the outside rail get to be different lengths. What I also want to do is just find my scalpel again, and I'm just going to cut off the last sleeper just to make it easier for connecting up to the fish plates. So these rails just go onto the fish plates that are already on the points. Need to just bring that down. To get a nice tight fit against it. And then I want to get my first track pin in, which is there. And then I'm just going to ease it over and get the second track pin in. Now I've got the line I've drawn to kind of guide me to start off with. Oh, these track pins are so tiny, and I don't think I've got any holes. I've opened up 2 holes in here for some reason, and I can't get the can't find the one in there. That's better, right. Just need to get that track pin out of the way, otherwise it's going to keep getting in the way. Right, then I can bring my track setter in and start getting my track laid out in my 12-inch. Right. So the problem I'm having here is as I'm bending it, it's opening up the gap on the fish plate by the points. That's better. Right, pull it back. Get the track setter in again so I get my nice angle on there. Right, I'm sure the last thing you want to do is spend the next half hour or so watching me do these. So what I'm going to do is get my track in place, and then I'll come back to you when it's all done. I'll come back to you. I know I haven't finished this track, but I just wanted to explain something. And you can see it from here. Now I could have worked from the outside and worked inwards, but as you can see by working from this one and then working outwards, it gives me room to move this track around to get it in place. If I'd started from this side, I would have been trying to get track. So if I'd already done that one, then this one I'd be trying to get it over the top of that all the time and catching on it. So to leave this area clear, to be able to bend the track round, just makes life a bit easier for me. Anyway, I'm going to get back onto trackland and I'll catch up with you shortly. Well, there you go. I've got the loops in place and just about in time. As you probably notice, it's a bit dull in here and the light's on in the railway shed. God's decided to dim the lights for the evening, and I don't think it'd be too far off now calling lights out, but at least I've got this done. So what's the next stage? The next stage is to get the line coming in off the Helix, the point. This is the reversing loop, so there's a bit of planning to do, and that's what the next video is going to be about. My thoughts on how I'm going to do it. I'm using the DigiKeys DR5013. I've still got to get my head around how that works, but as I say, I'll put that together in the next video. Whether I get to lay the next track in the rest of the track in the next video, I'm not sure. I'd want to keep it fairly short, the next one. I've got to wire up all this that I've put in now. I've got to wire up as well. I've got a huge bundle of wires hanging down from the bottom here, so I've got to sort those out, terminate them off on something, which will probably be those terminal blocks you can get from Amazon with the bridging pieces in. So yeah, I'm going to call it a day for now. Thank you for watching. I hope you found it useful. I hope you tuned in next time, and it'd be great if you subscribed if you enjoyed what you've seen. But for now, thank you and good night.